recognize that small island developing states are the most vulnerable to the effects of climate change, and we remain determined to keep fighting for the survival of our islands and peoples.
This is a call for our world leaders in Paris for the COP21 to come up with a legally binding agreement on climate change, an agreement that commits each and every one of us to take action against climate change.
As Seychelles youth, we are mindful that a legally binding agreement that does not keep global temperatures below 1.5 degrees Celsius will condemn our islands into the depths of the ocean and turn our people into refugees.
For some of our fellow small island developing states, it is already too late. As people of the world, we have a collective responsibility to prevent the creation of climate refugees. We continue to stress that an agreement in Paris must do more than keep global temperatures below 2 degrees Celsius. It must keep global temperatures below 1.5 degrees Celsius. For an agreement that condemns islands and their people is immoral.
We are also conscious that mitigation and adaptation measures play a key role in our ability to combat the effects of climate change. But our ability to implement these measures is greatly hindered by a lack of funding. We recognize and commend the efforts of our government in sourcing innovative financing, such as the Debt for Adaptation SYAH. But we need greater assistance from developed countries, and we call upon them to fulfill their commitments to inject money into funds for the most vulnerable.
We call for a more tailored approach to access of international funding for mitigation and adaptation measures, which takes into account our vulnerabilities through the application of a vulnerability index. We call on our government to fulfill its commitments of transition from high carbon dependency to clean energy, and to make a greater commitment of complete transition. We call on our government to mainstream climate change adaptation into all aspects of development. For development without consideration of climate change adaptation is not sustainable. We call for the protection and rehabilitation of our natural defenses from the ocean, our coral reef, mangroves, and seagrass habitats.
We believe that the individual behavioral changes necessary to combat climate change and achieve sustainable development require a level of awareness about climate change that is lacking in the general populace of Seychelles. Awareness can be the catalyst for behavioral change. It can also be the catalyst for greater engagement of the populace with governmental institutions and non-governmental organizations, increasing our country's ability to address the impacts of climate change. We call on our government to provide greater public education about climate change, especially to the youth, through the incorporation of climate change in the school curriculum.
As youth, we pledge to continue to educate ourselves about climate change. We pledge to get involved, to demand to be invited to the decision and policy-making table. Young people can and should contribute towards the development and implementation of this transition. We should all come together. Like we say in Creole,
L'union y fait la force.
Together we are strong.
So we, the youth of Seychelles, urge world leaders not to ignore the plea of small island developing states, to muster the political will and leadership to save the islands, for if you save the islands, you will have saved the world. Paris is an opportunity to do just that, to save the islands and save the world.